Thank you very much for nice words. I'm here, and I think I will not speak anymore. I will just like to listen what you think. I mean, we've got representatives of different units, organizations, countries. It will be interesting to hear what is your experience, and I think in each country there is something good you could learn from. And in Poland, I just wanted to show that we've got some basis. So our system is already built. So we do not start from the beginning. So we've got national rural networking, we've got agricultural advisory services pretty well developed. They are linked very much. It's maybe because our public agricultural advisory center, we coordinate the network, the innovative network and national rural network. So due to that decision, it was much easier to integrate advisors. So maybe it's part of the success, but for sure we need to develop, we need to a little bit change it, we need to improve it, and I think the biggest challenge is to be more innovative, and this is for us, I think, the biggest challenge, because the system maybe is not efficient in all the aspects, but from the other side, it's really difficult to be innovative if you've got 1.4 million farmers and majority of them, these are small-scale farms. This is what Anton mentioned, that you need to support not only big, productive farms, but also you need to provide advice to small farmers as well. And to find this balance, it will be a challenge. So thank you, and the discussion. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your modesty, and thank you for the additional information. I see that Peter Parry has his hand up. Peter, please.
Yeah, exactly what you stopped with was my question on. Poland has for a long time very many small farms. It's different from, for example, Czechia, where the farms, due to history, have been bigger. Now, I guess also in Poland, you have the larger scale of some farms, not only by innovation, but separate as a way, to finance the next generation, and so to earn that and to do the investments that you need. How do you manage how do you keep the balance between, as you mentioned it, between the advice for smaller and bigger farms?
Thank you for the question. So just simply to answer, we've got, as I mentioned, 3,000 public advisors. So it's a huge number of workforce or specialized people, and they are located all over Poland. Yes, I mentioned we've got offices and branches in each region, so we have access to all farmers, and sure, this is on a refundable basis, so farmers do not pay for generally for the services. It's paid from rural development program or national money, and this is the key. So this is just the simple answer, and I think that maybe just to add that we just try to maybe not liquidate the small-scale farming, because it depends on the people, and I think that the option of the challenge is, or the target is to create to go into organic farms. This is the one of the solution, and so we try to develop this organic farming. And also, I don't like to talk a lot, but short supply chains right now could help, some small farmers with being more, economic, profitable. So this is the concept, short supply chain, which is very much popular in Poland right now, the development of short supply chains. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the response. I see also that Eva has a hand up as well. Please, Eva.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ewa Grodzka. I'm working Polish Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. And I just wanted to add to what Krzysztof said, that in Polish situation, it was actually much more easy to build innovation support units because of the number of advisors we have, and because of the fact that we decided that there was a decision that the minister is going to take subordination on the agricultural advisory units, which before 2016, the subordination on those units was performed by regional self-government. So when the minister actually got more influence over the advisory services, it was easier to organize the whole system. I wanted to point out that it is very important to build a network of the network of advisors, because actually the 20 brokers we have are not they are not working alone. They are working together with the advisors from the advisory units in the regions. Only on their own they wouldn't do a lot. So that's thanks to the whole structure we have. It is possible to do more than usually. But starting from the building of the network of brokers, I think is very important, and maybe this solution may be used by other countries. Thank you.
Super. Thanks for the additional information, Eva. I also see there's a very interesting comment in the chat from Karin. She's asking how in Poland do farm advisors connect with other rural development activities, such as LEADER, for example. But I wonder whether we can just sort of maybe open it up as a slightly wider question, because surely one of the really interesting opportunities now that we have with bringing the NRNs, the old NRNs, much closer to the to the AKIS and to other activities, is actually to address this very specific expectation in the regulation that the AKIS will cover all requirements relating to economic, environmental and social dimensions. Now, I was really intrigued that Krzysztof mentioned specifically smart villages, agritourism and women. And I'm really interested to know how you anticipate Polish, but also please other colleagues come in as well, covering these key issues such as social innovation, this very important issue of the well-being of farmers. Do you see this also as part of your future contribution to building an AKIS? Krzysztof, could you maybe just address the LEADER thing first of all, and then maybe we can just then see if there's some other perspectives on this, some other ideas on this.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to talk too much, but yeah, it's interesting to listen how it's in other countries. But yeah, for sure, our advisors up till now, they specialized in farm advising, but we've been changing it to more and more be more active in this rural development area, and first of all in our regional in our center, agricultural advisory center, as well as in regional offices. We've got some specialists or even some offices, small offices that specializes in rural development projects. For example, for the rural agricultural center that I work for, we've got a special unit that tries to work on the rural development program, and LEADER is one very important part of it. But just to deal with some issues, you need to have people who specialize in it. So that's the key. And also, as I mentioned before, we as agricultural advisory, we're becoming more and more involved in national rural network and innovation network. And due to that, we are much more involved in cooperation with, for example, LEADER network, which is very strong in Poland. We've got more than 300 local partnerships, LEADER local partnerships, local action groups, sorry. More than 300, and we are very much, we cooperate with them as well. I see Pavel, who is the head of our National Rural Network Support Unit, is here. Maybe you could add a few words.
Good afternoon, Paweł Krzysztof from the Polish Rural Network and the Polish Innovation Network. In respect of Karin's question on LEADER, one of the things that has to be borne in mind is that LEADER is something that has run through our regional governments, so we don't have any direct influence on how that is done from the network. However, we do run a thematic group that is very useful, I believe, to the Ministry of Agriculture to exchange views and plan the development of LEADER and adjust it to whatever requirements there are. I think more broadly towards Mark's question on the broad number of issues that the rural network addresses, it is an enormous challenge. It's relatively easy for the innovation network because you have a clear group of stakeholders you're trying to address, you have a clear topic, innovation in agriculture, and therefore you can construct your activities, construct the network with that in mind. When it comes to the rural network and the development of rural areas, you're presented with almost too many opportunities and too many challenges. And it'll be a bit like what one of the colleagues said earlier in relation to the CAP priorities. Maybe you have to start with a few, identify those, work on those, bring them in, get them going before you address everything else. And that is a bit my fear with AKIS as well. It is so broad, so many challenges, so many opportunities that it almost makes it difficult to do anything because it makes it more challenging to start with something. So in any case, LEADER is something that is with the regional governments. And then the network provides a platform to help manage the whole system.
Thank you very much for that, Pavel. I mean, I think you've clarified very importantly this challenge of the huge range of issues, which I guess in the case of Poland is amplified also because of the geographical scope, the huge scale of the country that you're working in. Although of course you have some very well developed regional antennae, etc., etc. And I'm just wondering if we think maybe to some of the significantly smaller member states about whether or not these discussions are still also relevant. I mean, I'm thinking, for example, to Estonia. And I noticed also in the Google Docs that Hanna Tamsului from the Estonian network was also quite sensitive to this issue of, the NSU not being overloaded by too many expectations. I don't know, Hanna, if you're still in the call, do you want to respond to that? No. Okay, that's fair enough. That's absolutely fair enough.
Mark, you are muted. So
So my question was, Hannah, absolutely. I appreciate you don't want to respond. Thank you for your contribution to the Google Docs. As always, it's really provocative and interesting and stimulating. I was just asking whether anybody, I'm really embarrassed now for talking like for ages, muted. Oh, yeah. I'm just was asking if anybody else wanted to address this issue of overloading for VNSUs. Is the expectation just, too high? Is this just simply overwhelming?
Mark, if I may add one more thing at the beginning.
You can, Krzysztof.
Sorry, maybe somebody is muted, so I will use this opportunity. So yeah, I think talking about all these activities, we, as Pavel mentioned, we talk a lot about a lot of opportunities, and different functions. And I think that, when we talk about, for example, networking, we cannot, networks cannot respond to all the requirements, will not replace any other instruments. It's just, in my opinion, it's just networking. And this is what it should be. This is so we need to be careful with multiplying all the challenges and possible solutions that networking or advisors will solve all the problems in agricultural and rural development. There are other instruments that we need to think about as well. But to organize the system in a clear, transparent way, this is the key. If you organize it in a good way, you know who does what, then it's much easier to implement. So that's the end of my remark. Thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, that's really important, and it's a very, very pragmatic position to take. I see also that Karin from Germany is agreeing, although at the same time I see that Kasper Zurins, which I think from Latvia, is also pointing out that again there are other expectations for connecting a CAP network to evaluation and monitoring tasks, etc., etc. So there is a very high expectation. Inga, you've had your hand up for some time. Please, would you like to?
Yes, maybe to pick in on a number of things that were said. We have to realize that here we are in a setting of a webinar trying to show everything what is possible. But in practice, in the CAP plans, we start from a SWOT. I already said so. So you will, for your own country, look what are the biggest needs and tackle those first. It's as simple as that. Only you have now a broader choice of needs from which you are able to choose to solve them with the EIP, with the AKIS. On the other hand, I think the effect that the EIP has had in these 7 years has been so strong. And I think in particularly the communication efforts, having all the projects visible for everybody and not just a few best examples, but really sharing everything has been so attractive that we already have the double of ticks on the network, on the website, than, for instance, the ENRD has. And this is just because it's all very practical and people are looking for practical solutions and as broad as possible, because one wants this and the other one wants that. But in terms of making interventions and making your CAP plan, it's really a choice to be made. And don't forget that through the bottom up, also choices are made. Some things will emerge. Look to our thematic networks at EU level under Horizon. We have 5, we don't give any theme, but the things that come up are antimicrobial resistance, soil problems, HNV areas. So typical the things that are on top of the worries And in this way, certain choices are anyway made. You can't cover everything, but you have the possibility to cover everything. And as I said in the beginning, remember this overview of the AKISs in Europe. For some countries, it will be this that you need. For other countries, it will be something else. Now, what Krzysztof said, or Eva, key is paying from public money. I think that is something very important to remember. I have signs that for various reasons we are going back from where we came, because in the years 1980, almost all advice was public. And then gradually we got this privatization wave, and those who were public advisors became then private. But maybe we're now at a turning point that we see also the disadvantages from private advice, and that we realize that with public advice, we have more power to solve a number of societal issues like climate or like environmental issues, etc., and that we can use our advisors to solve those issues. One of the things that in 2014, when we saw the first rural development programs, has also been very against us is state aid. We saw a lot of what you were mentioning, Mark, social innovation ideas, smart villages, all these things, women were in there to be tackled. And then it appeared that 100% support rate was not valid, because this fell under state aid, and there was maximum 50, or in the best case 80%. But for such subjects like social innovation or even smart villages, who is going to pay the rest? Who is going to give 50% or 20%? So this 100% is really, really important, and I'm super happy. I haven't shared that, I think, but I'm super happy to tell you that we are on the way now to publish a full derogation for all operational groups of 350,000 euro that is falling out of state aid. So you can have an operational group on social innovation up until 350,000 euro at 100% support rate. So this again opens a number of possibilities that we did not have before. I really saw this movement from the very first rural development programs in 2014. And then if you look in 16 or 17, 2016, 17, a lot of these nice innovations disappeared from the plans. And this was all about state aid. So I think this will also change the context a lot. And yeah, the overall feeling that countries have, and the Netherlands is, I think, a very good example. They struggled for 3 years to get their EIP running. Now, for a small country, they have 300 groups. It's it's really a tremendous number. And I had an interview with them last week, and they said that their CAP network capacity will be doubled, because they see the advantages of having more operational groups, working with these operational groups, bringing them in contact with the researchers, in this way also influencing research, etc. So I think that we will move more against public support, let's call it, not necessarily public advisory services, but ways of public support for advice. Okay, sorry that
No, thank you very much, Inga. And the news about state aid derogation is amazing. That's absolutely fantastic. That's really very, very, very encouraging indeed. I'm about to suggest that we take a 10-minute break before we go to the next session. Just to point out that we have some interesting comments in the chat, including Thomas from Finland, pointing out also that, of course, it's actually rather difficult. It's more difficult to engage with stakeholders the more complex your kind of thematic portfolio is, and that's a very, very important point. And then we have some exchange between Krzysztof and Hannah regarding this feeling of being overloaded. which is really important. I mean, it's very important that we're familiar with those pressures that the NSUs are feeling under.